Ladies and gentlemen, this is internet personality Vangelus, and the third model of Phase 1 Combiner Wars torso arrived in the form of the Protectobot Commander Hotspot. What's Phase 1? A term I made up for the main 2015 waves of Combiner Wars. Literally just made up. Might forget by the end of this video. What's this video? A toy review! Hotspot's one of those modern fire trucks that most of us call futuristic because they don't look like giant rolling rectangle boxes. You know, one of those Rosenbauer Panther 6x6s that Sentinel Prime was in the live-action movies. Except Hotspot's alt mode is kinda 2/3 emaciated, and the middle part is straight up hollowed. It looks pretty cool from the front, but other viewing angles get rather unfortunate. Luckily, there is a big ladder assembly that helps out a ton. The rear end is covered in pipes and cannons, and the front part has a bucket with legit diamond-plated flooring sculpted inside. You can also pose the ladder a little bit, though it doesn't extend at all. The cannons connect via 5mm ports, and there are 2 more ports just beneath their usual mounting points. Pick whatever fills in the visual gaps that bother you the most, and use whichever pegs on the guns you want to use the most. Also, my copy of the toy has got a kinda floppy flap back here. Bummer! Hotspot starts transforming by flipping and folding his ladder back and forth and to and fro. It's accomplishing something, I promise. The rest of the conversion's pretty straightforward, but there's a particular trick to getting his knees locked in properly. In package, they are wrong, and they look like they're supposed to work in that double-jointed kind of way, but they don't. And they still bend pretty well, trust me. The rest of the conversion is simple, as I said, which might be an upshot of the poor guy's anorexic shape in the rear of his alt mode. But man, it is all worth it. Trust me. Again. Hotspot hit the gym in all the right ways for Combiner Wars, because this robot mode is one of the sexiest cut super robot silhouettes I have seen in recent Transformers memory. I mean, yeah, there's a hell of a ladder backpack, but Mr. Spot wears it well, you know? And his use of truck mass to form his shoulders and boots in particular is very smooth. He looks badass, man, and his colors are a powerful 1-2 punch of jet black and light blue, with hardcore red and silver accents to bring out the sculpted details in his chest and shoulders. Hotspot's visage is pretty darn Optimus Prime-y, stern and heroic with red optics and a darker blue faceplate, adding just enough color to keep things from being bland. And there's enough sculpted detail both there and all over the rest of his body to make for some easy spots to paint up yourself if you're so inclined. Hotspot's twin cannons can be popped into his fists, making him able to blow down fires akimbo style. Make sure the hose coil details are facing inwards, otherwise they might bump against some of his truck butt gauntlet pieces, and it'll be all crooked, and it won't be cool. Hotspot is a pretty posable combiner torso when he's not a torso. He's got a ball-jointed head, with just a touch of wiggle, just enough for his mean face and his meaner faceplate to let you know that, you know, business is on. He's got a ratcheted forward and backward shoulder joint, and I think there's well enough clicks in there for most positions I'd want to put it in. And then he's got this outward hinge for, you know, doing the tree pose. Then his elbows, there's an elbow joint, and it's detented, and it's real solid. But then there's another joint up here, I think from the transformation, which means that he can double joint his elbows up, you know, provided you're okay with, like, the bend of that occupying almost the entirety of his, like, implied bicep. And I'm okay with that. He doesn't have any wrist joints, but I do like the slight curvature that his fists are sculpted in, just coming inwards a bit, like he's kinda mad. He has no waist joint, and I feel like there could have been a waist joint. Like, I can see, you know, the hollowness back here, and how that might be structurally unsound, but man, like, this piece it's not really integral to keep this as one solid piece, in my opinion. Like, I don't know. If some kind of small detent could have fit in there, holy crap, if this guy had a waist joint, he would be a whole nother level. He is still a pretty high level. Also, as you saw, like, the ladder can move. This part can move as well. And the ladder helps a whole lot. You know, if you're okay with him having a ladder on his back, it helps a whole lot as just a big, friendly tripod for whatever he's doing. His hips are detented a whole bunch. Let's do the counting. Outwardly, there are 4 detents. Maybe 5? No, it's just 4. There's 4 detents outwardly, which I think is pretty good. It's definitely nicer than the 3 on Optimus and Motormaster if they are unmodified. And 4 forwards as well. That's just enough detents to make me happy. Do I wish that, like, there were more? I mean, of course, but I don't feel limited like I did with Optimus and Motormaster. He's got dedicated thigh swivels as well. He's got a knee joint. There are multiple joints in there, but just the single hinge that you're supposed to be using results in a pretty nice and deep knee bend. Like, that's proper tiger knee material. He doesn't have ankle joints, because, like, I don't think there's any room for them in here, but he does have that lovely thing where there's a slight slant in the sculpt, so he's got this sort of natural A stance, and he just looks so badass. Like, I love posing this guy. He looks super friggin' cool doing, like, most anything. And you can get him into a lot of really kooky poses as well, and then use the ladder to balance him out and keep him from toppling. And I dig it. Hotspot is a fun standalone toy. Probably my favorite of the Voyager Combiner War torso designs, and I'm like ecstatic that this is happening 2 more times for Victorion and Onslaught. When it's time to activate the Defensor, Hotspot's arms use some solid tabs to curl up while his head stores away and his legs do that predictable thing of just shrinking back into their alt mode compression before his ladder delivers a load of clever conversion magic. The chest plate locks into another pair of tabs to firm up the torso a bit more, while the ladder wraps all the way around to solidify it even more before depositing Defensor's head up top. And yes, his head is literally the hollow bucket on the end of the ladder. He has 5 brains, it's not like he needs another one up there. Unfortunately, for all the tabs I've been talking about, there's still a propensity in some hotspots to start to pull themselves apart while you're playing around with the full combined Defensor. Defensor is clearly more of a Menasor than a Superion in being big and bulky, but his silhouette is way nicer cut than the flatter aerial bot or midriffless Stunticon combiners. I really dig the way his black chestplate totally changes the upfront color balance. And Defensor's head sculpt is pretty good, if a little thin-faced and overly foreheaded. His face is nicely silver with a pair of big blue aviator optics, and the cheekbones have got some weirdly asymmetrical exposed circuitry sculpting going on. Defensor's posability looks pretty Menasor-like out of the box, but he also has a way smarter hip setup when following the stock instructions. There's a big implied crotch plate, but the actual movement uses Hotspot's robot mode ratchets and thigh swivels. This means the range of posability isn't huge, but it is often quite natural despite the main rotations happening just above Defensor's visual hip placement. Unfortunately, Defensor also shares Hotspot's lack of a waist swivel, though the latter wraparound transformation definitely wouldn't have played nice with one if it were there. Oh yeah, Hotspot's guns pull an Optimus Prime and just stick together into a big thin blaster stick. The peg is kinda loose and they look really dumb like this, so I usually leave them separate when I've got the Protectobots all assembled. Just let Defensor twin pistol this, and protect all the civilians, akimbo style! Going from a serviceable if weak alt mode to one of the best robot modes I've seen in Transformers in a while, even without a waist joint, Hotspot's a toy I really dig for his style alone. But it does help that his robot mode tends to look incredibly badass in a wide array of poses too. He's such a fun standalone toy. Even though his alt mode's a little skin and bones, the transformation and bot mode make up for it a whole lot. And becoming Defensor's torso is the decent cherry atop the edible sundae. While Superion's probably still a better torso altogether, Defensor delivers a stronger, bulky combiner experience than Menasor or Ultra Prime out of the box and without any hip ratchet modifications. This toy is worth your time as a standalone purchase, but will totally tempt even the most anti-combiner among you if you get one in hand. Anyway, this has been Internet Personality Vangelus, and this Combiner Wars team's reviews did begin with the torso. The Protectobots were the first team to fill out a wave all by themselves, so all my nonsense about reviewing things in shipping order is now properly out the window. If I do them in an order you dislike, the responsibility is now mine, and mine alone.